everyone, and welcome back. I'm Rick Fussell, and this is the Ingrain Workshop. Zero clearance inserts are one of the simplest upgrades you can make to your table saw. And today, I'll show you how I make mine quick, safe, and repeatable. But we're not just making one insert, we're going to be making multiple inserts for all different occasions, because if there's one thing we like, that's inserting things. Supervisor's not going to like that one. That's coming up next here at the Ingrain Workshop. The first thing we need to do is make a router template from our existing table saw insert. I'm starting with some scrap 1/4-inch plywood cut slightly oversized. Using double-sided tape, I'll fasten the factory insert to the plywood. Over at the router table with a flush trim bit and the bearing on the bottom, I'll flush trim the plywood to match the insert. This gives us an exact template. Now my insert has an opening slot at the back where the riving knife normally passes through. Since I'll be using a micro jig splitter instead of the riving knife, I don't need that slot, so I'll stop the router cut right at that location. Once that's done, I'll remove the original insert from the template and use double-sided tape to attach the 2.5-inch circle template to finish the cut. If you don't have a circle template, no problem. You can continue the cut at the router table using the original insert as a guide. Just stop at the slot, slightly cut it about 1/16 of an inch proud, and then sand it flush over at the belt sander. Next, we'll head over to the table saw and rip our insert blanks out of 1/2-inch MDF. You could also use plywood here, just make sure it's something stable that won't move with seasonal changes. I'll rip the blanks slightly oversized, about 1/8 of an inch, then head over to the miter saw and cut them to length, again about 1/8 of an inch long. We're going to make a total of 8 insert blanks, one for each occasion. I had some leftover laminate from my outfeed table project, so I figured I'd put it to use here. Laminate is pretty easy to work with. To cut it, you just slightly score it with a utility knife a couple of times and snap it along a straight edge. Just like the MDF insert blanks, I'm going to cut the laminate oversized about 1/8 of an inch in both directions. We'll trim it flush later over at the router table. I'll cut out 8 pieces, one for each insert blank. To fasten the laminate to the blanks, I'll be using contact cement. This stuff is toxic and flammable, so make sure you're working in a well-ventilated area and wearing a respirator. I'll apply the contact cement with a 4-inch foam roller, coating both surfaces. I'll let the first coat dry for about 20 minutes, and once it's tacky to the touch, I'll apply a second coat and let it set up for about 20 minutes. Since these are small pieces, I don't need any wood spacers to separate the laminate from the blank. I'll carefully start in the middle, making sure I have about 1/8 of an inch overhang all the way around, and then press it down firmly. Because once these two surfaces touch, there's no turning back. I'll use a J-roller and apply firm pressure to make sure the laminate is fully bonded to the insert, and then I'll repeat the process for all 8 inserts. Now we can take our blanks over to the router table, and using the same flush trim bit, trim the laminate flush with the blanks. Next, we'll head over to the table saw and trim the thickness of the blanks down to 1/17 of an inch thick. That thickness may vary depending on your table saw. You want the insert to sit about 1/16 of an inch below the table surface, because later we'll install set screws so we can micro adjust the height. With the blanks prepped, I'll attach the template to each blank using double-sided tape. Then back at the router table, again with the same flush trim bit, I'll cut out the insert profile. Now this next step is optional, but with a little movie magic, I jump over to the miter saw and knock off the corners of the blank. That just saves some router work later. Over at the drill press, using a 3/4 inch Forstner bit, I'll drill the finger hole. I could make a comment here that would probably get me in trouble, but I'm already in hot water with the supervisor. Good news is, I get to drill the finger hole 8 more times. I never said this video was kid appropriate. Next, I'll lay out the 4 set screw locations using the original table saw insert as a reference. Back at the drill press with a 3/16 inch drill bit, I'll drill all the set screw holes. The set screws are 1/4 inch, so we want the holes slightly undersized. Using a 3mm Allen wrench, I'll drive the set screws in to cut the threads directly into the wood. There's no need to tap these since we're threading into MDF. To clean things up, I'll cut a small chamfer on the inside of the finger hole and around the perimeter of the insert. That helps prevent any potential chip out in the laminate. Now, if your saw is like mine, when you're running a 10-inch blade, the blade doesn't fully drop below the insert. It actually rests inside it. That means you can't make the initial cut until the insert is sitting perfectly flush with the table. You can handle this one of 2 ways. First, you can swap out the 10-inch blade for an 8-inch dado blade, which gives you enough clearance for the insert to sit flush. If you don't have a dado blade, you can mark the blade location on the bottom of the insert, then take it to the miter saw. With the depth stop set so you don't cut all the way through, cut a shallow trench on the bottom to give the 10-inch blade somewhere to sit. Once that's done, we're ready to make the initial cut. With the insert installed and leveled with the top of the saw, I'll add some painter's tape to help prevent any chip out in the laminate when we cut through the insert. I'll also take my time here, which helps minimize any potential tear out. You'll notice I've moved my table saw fence to the left of the blade. That helps hold the insert in place while I make the initial cut. On my table saw, the blade is 1 inch from the right side of the insert, so I'm able to clamp down more than half the insert using the fence. Just keep in mind your table saw might be different, so adjust accordingly. With the insert still on the saw, I'll now drill the mounting holes for the micro jig splitter. I'm not going to go into detail on that in this video, but I'll leave a link here to the video where I walk through setting up the mounting jig. With the fence set at 2 inches and the blade height at 1/4 inch and the jig aligned over the saw blade kerf, I'll drill the 3 mounting holes and install the splitter. 1 down, 7 to go. With the standard 90-degree zero clearance insert complete, and while I still have the 10-inch blade installed, I'll cut an insert for 45-degree cuts. For this one, I had to cut a wider trench on the bottom of the insert to accommodate the 10-inch blade at that 45-degree angle. Next up is the dado stack. I'll start with 3/4 inch, then 5/8, 1/2 inch, 3/8, and finally a 1/4 inch dado. For the final insert, I'll use double-sided tape to attach the blank to the original table saw insert. I'll drill a 5/8 inch hole in the blade slot, and then at the router table, I'll route out the slot to create an insert that can handle just about any blade angle. This one ends up being the catch-all insert for all those oddball cuts. Here's the finished set of zero clearance inserts for my table saw. I've got a standard 90-degree insert, a 45-degree insert, dedicated inserts for each dado width, and one catch-all insert for odd angles. Every insert is laminated for durability, micro-adjustable with set screws, and sized for a clean, tight fit in the saw. Zero clearance inserts reduce tear out, support small offcuts, and just make the saw safer and more predictable to use. This whole set took some shop time, but now I can swap inserts depending on the cut instead of fighting the saw. If you've been putting off, don't. This is one of the simplest upgrades you can make to your table saw. Well, that's going to wrap up this video. I hope you enjoyed the video, and more importantly, I hope you learned how to make zero clearance inserts for your table saw. If you enjoyed the video, then please hit that like button and share the video. It really helps the channel out a lot. If you're new to the channel and you like DIY and woodworking projects, then I highly recommend that you smash that subscribe button. It's free and painless, and I'd also ask that you ring that bell icon. That way you can be notified of all our upcoming videos. To all my existing subscribers, I really appreciate all the support that you give this channel. I'll leave links in the video description below to any tools and equipment that I might have used on this build. And as always, I'm Rick with the Ring Workshop. Until next time, have a wonderful day and God bless.